A very good afternoon or evening to all of you. First of all, I'd like to thank Professor Gitanjali Misra for inviting me. Uh, so the title of my talk is Urbanization and Synurbic Ecologies of Guwahati. Basically, I'm a primatologist. I work on primates for my PhD with Professor Anindya Sinha at NIAS. Then shifted to elephants, and then I joined Cotton University as a faculty, and then I lost the path. So now I work on many systems. The entire world is now increasingly being urbanized. So if you see this animation, so 1970s and going through 1990, 2018, and 2030, and 2030. So it has been estimated that almost 2/3 of the world population will be residing in the urban areas. So that's why my interest arises, because I live in Guwahati. My institute is in Guwahati. So this is the map of Guwahati. So there is a river Brahmaputra, and the total area of Guwahati is around 216 square kilometer, and around 1.4 million people resides in this city. And Guwahati is known to be rich in biodiversity. 26 species of amphibia, 53 species of reptiles, 214 species of birds, and 36 species of mammals are documented from here. So Guwahati is also known for giving some new species. For example, this urban bane-toed gecko, which has recently been discovered from Guwahati. And Guwahati is also very interesting because it also has the Ramsar site, which is Dipor Bill, and there is one more wildlife sanctuary called the Amchang Wildlife Sanctuary. You can see that there are a lot of hill clusters, around 9 hill clusters, and most of these are in a different level of degradation. So I'll just give you a comparison of how Guwahati was earlier. So this is the land use land cover map of Guwahati in 1989. And the red area is the built-up area, and green areas are mostly forests. There were grassland. Then there are non-built-up areas, and so just keep a note on the water bodies. So this was in 1989. Jump to 2018. Most of the green areas are not there. It's almost red. As you can see, the forest has gone drastically, the forest loss has been done. The more importantly, a lot of these water bodies are also gone from this area. So just to compare this between 1989 and 2018, so there was 153% increase in urban areas in Guwahati. So Guwahati is a gateway to Northeast India. So not only people from Assam, but people from adjoining states also come and stay in Guwahati. So this is the rough Guwahati framework of my program. I called it as a Guwahati Urban Ecology Research Program. Despite of differences in, say, temperature, climate, vegetations, and geology, throughout the world, these biophysical processes are more or less similar throughout the world. So this, among these, the primary biophysical processes such as the removal of existing vegetations, reduction in the area of the open space, replacement of permeable with the impermeable surfaces. So these are the primary biophysical processes, and that leads to the secondary biophysical processes during urbanization. So then that leads to like secondary biophysical processes are like habitat loss, altered noise regimes, altered light regimes, etc. And that is the core research questions that we are planning to, and we are actually doing it for last few years. So we basically wanted to see how these primary and the secondary biophysical processes have impact on some of the key research questions that we have outlined here. And with an ultimate goal of, say, how to create a ecologically just, sustainable, and the climate resilient Guwahati city. So what I'm going to do next is present you some of the work that, selected work that we have been doing in Guwahati for the last 6 or 7 years. So this is one such work where we try to understand the spatio-temporal change and distribution of large mammals. So with relationship to the changing land use and land cover. So we divided entire Guwahati into 2.5 into 2.5 grid, and we did the questionnaire survey and the primary survey to understand the spatio-temporal distribution of 5 very common species: rhesus macaque, golden langur, golden jackal, barking deer, common leopard, and the Asian elephants. So we did around 158 interviews, semi-structured interviews, and also we cited most of these species during the survey. And my student and me, we've spent around 32 days in the field. So what we found, if you look at the distribution of barking deer in Guwahati, so from 1988, so to 2018, there is a drastic reduction in the distribution of barking deer. So this is very alarming, because so we asked people whether they have seen barking deer 30 years back, and whether the barking deers are present now. Similarly, golden jackal also saw a very drastic reduction in their distribution in Guwahati. Leopard also, there is a drastic reduction, though people are recording the leopard attacks in many places, but the data shows that the leopards are becoming locally extinct or not present in there. So elephants are more or less similar. So they are mostly at the adjoining part. So these parts are mostly connected with the state of Meghalaya. There are a lot of forest cover there. So they keep moving to Guwahati and the adjoining Meghalaya. So one species which really got benefited by the urbanization is the rhesus macaque. So rhesus macaques, the occurrence of rhesus macaque in 1988 and 2018 was very, very different. So people are reporting more rhesus macaque in Guwahati city. And then what we did was we tried to see which are the factors that influencing the occupancies of this species, and I'll not go into details. So there are different factors that are contributing to their presence and absence. For example, the grassland reduction is obviously very detrimental for the golden jackal. So next, my student Dipanjali Gohai and me, so we thought let's look at the distribution of birds in Guwahati city. Nobody has done this kind of a work. So I was part of a Mysore bird atlas, so where I learned the technique of how to do, create this bird atlas. So we created a 2.5 kilometer into 2.5 kilometer grid entire Guwahati, and we were able to go into 148 grids. Then in each grid we spent some time and documented the bird, different species of birds there. So in overall we have documented 212 species of birds. So this is the bird atlas map. So this is perhaps, we will be using this as a benchmark for further assessment of birds, continuous assessment of birds in the future. So there is a talks going on, including the local citizens in documenting bird, just like a Mysore bird atlas and the Kerala bird atlas. So these are the most commonly, frequently encountered bird species in Guwahati. So as you can see, spotted dove, house crow, common myna, and so on. So these are the species which are mostly recorded during the survey, and we submitted most of these checklist into the eBird app. So in 2024, I and my student Ankita Kowar, we tried to repeat this study. So that was in 2018, and this is 2024. And as you can see, there is already a lot of compositional change already happening in Guwahati. So here the red cells are the cells where the bird has reduced drastically, bird richness has reduced drastically. So clearly there seems to be some impact. So we're planning to do this throughout the year, at least twice a year, so for another 5 and 10 years, so that we can get better understanding of how bird communities are responding to urbanization. So along with birds, I started observing the invasive species. So this is kind of an invasive atlas of Guwahati. So we selected 40 very commonly found invasive species, and my student Trolokya and me, we divided this into 1 by 1 kilometer grid, and we looked at the absence and presence, and also some of the abundance data, which I'm not going to present here. So as you can see, the invasive is almost distributed throughout the Guwahati, but there are certain invasive species which has very, very confined distribution. For example, this Dhatura is not found in most of the areas. Otherwise, if you look at the Mycenia or the Chromolina, so these are widespread in Guwahati. So this is the map of, these are the maps of other 4 invasive species. Argemona mexicana is very restricted. So the Argemona mexicana is coming to Guwahati through the land, through the soil, because the soils are being put in the dividers. So the seeds are, so seeds of Argemona mexicana is coming from the rural to urban areas. And these are the other species like a Parthenium and the Lantana and Mimosa. These are fairly distributed in Guwahati. So then my love for macaques or primates kicks in. So we thought, why not work on some monkey work. So there are, I think Meva sir will know, if you go to any places and if you ask how many monkeys are there, they will say hazar hai. Like matlab hazar hai. So they have certain perception about monkeys. So people are saying there are 700 groups, group of 700 individuals. So we thought, let's assess their perception with our data, so whether it's matching or not. So there are some interesting results that came. So first what we did was we did the total count of the rhesus macaque, and it is very easier said than done. So counting macaques, total count, it took us really long time, some 84 days to count, I think just 14 or 16 groups only. So it's very, very difficult to do a complete total count of rhesus macaque. And what we did next was, based on that data, then we asked. We know the group size. Now we went to the place and we asked people, now tell us, we didn't tell them that we already have the group size data, right? And then we asked people, and very interestingly, when we asked them just casually, they inflated the data. But when we take out the book, like a data sheet, they mellow down. They start reporting less and less. So in fact, if this red line is the actual group size data, and the box plot, the median, if you see, almost it is matching with the actual data. The perceptions is in fact matching with the reality, but only when you are going with the data set. Otherwise, they are inflating that number. So then we thought, why not do some work on trees? So this is a very nice study by researcher in Bangalore, and where they looked at the street trees of Bangalore. And we also did similar kind of a study looking at the street trees in the highways, large and medium, and the small bylanes. So you can see the length of these roads. And just a minute. So yeah. Okay, so we laid 64 grids, 147 transects, so we counted 1,455 tree individuals. We counted almost 80 species, belongs to the 29 families. And we also look at the health of these street trees. So the duration was from January 2022 to July 22. So what are the results? So species diversity was very high, species richness was high in the large roads, and the species diversity was high in the highways. Okay, species richness was high, but the species diversity was high in the highways. Health of the trees were better in the highways compared to the small roads. So very interestingly, that highways, so they from the 4-lane they wanted to make it the 6-lane highways, and as a result, what happened? So we were counting, and that the people are cutting these trees. So we have a baseline data of the trees from the highway, what it used to be. So then we also worked on the spiders, so looking at how the impact of this urbanization on the taxonomic and the functional diversity of spiders. So my students Ankita and we published a paper, and what we found that we documented 89 species that belong to 64 genera and 12 families, and the taxonomic diversity was highest in the forest core, and they follow these gradients: forest core, then forest A, semi-urban, urban in the park areas. And the compositions of these species in the forest are very much similar, whereas the urban in the park were much more similar than the semi-urban. And the spider community is structured by the turnover. It is not by the nested nets. That means if you go from forest to say park, you are getting new species. That means if you need to conserve a spider from a in Guwahati city, you need to conserve parks as well as the semi-urban areas and the other areas as well. So these are some of the insight from our urban ecology research program. So some species seems to have benefited from urbanization, whereas others are sensitive to the changes. We are still exploring patterns, need more studies to understand the processes that are shaping. So I have represented only a few studies in the interest of time. So quickly I'm going to highlight some of the activities that we are doing in the Cotton University. So Cotton University is established in 1901. It is older than the Lucknow University, and the campus area is just the 5 hectare, and the Department of Environmental Biology and Wildlife Sciences, which was established in 2015. So Meva Singh sir was there taking my interview for the position of assistant professor, and this is the aerial view of the campus. So what we did was we tried to do some of the activities within the campus. So because it is so rich, so these are some of the objectives of our activity. So it's a mainstreaming this biodiversity into the curriculum. Is it possible or not? Just like someone was talking about the evolution, incorporating evolution in the mainstreaming evolution in the curriculum. So why not starting with the biodiversity first? Then collecting data. The institute is rich in biodiversity. Why not collect data and contribute to the growing body of citizen science, and also create a cadre of ecologically conscious students and the citizen. So I have introduced a new course called the Learning with Nature, Understanding Our Environment. So this is more aligning with the new education policy. This is the value-added course. So where students from other subjects take part. This is mostly experiential learning. We go out and do activities. So this is not confined to the classroom. And so we have been monitoring the bird population of campus since 2016. So far we have documented 70 bird species. There are very interesting findings, so I'm not going to present these findings here, but remember that the turnover of species is quite remarkable. There are some species which were not reported earlier, which are started appearing now. And we regularly do spider work and the butterfly work, and all butterfly we have so far documented 53 species. So this is an interesting initiative that I've started. So I got a small grant from the department to start this tree walk. So it's like going and talking with people about the importance of trees. So it's just like a idea right from the shape and size of the leaf, the fruits type, looking at their history, looking at their name. So all those things, and some of the mythological importance of those trees also. So, and we also did an interesting So since we wanted student to go in the field, and which is beyond the budget of the university, so I thought why not do study in campus. So we divided this campus into 50 by 50 meter grid, and in each grid one student was stationed, and simultaneously we try to record the squirrel. So this is the only squirrel, horribility squirrel found in the campus, and we found around 68. So we have repeated this. So we have we did this, and we are planning to do this one more time so that we can get some accurate results. And in fact, this is interesting that the chemistry building and the physics building, they don't have squirrels, whereas biology buildings have much more squirrels. So I don't know, it's just a correlation. Then what we are also doing is, since our students are very say fond of art, so they do, say for example, they keep drawing this thing. So we have generated a wild alphabet. So it's not A for apple, rather than A for abocet, B for bat. Okay, we created this, and these all drawn by my students. So we created this. We also did a flashcard, and then there is a book. And in fact, we are then we distributed this in the villages. So there are a lot of people. So these are the 5 adopted villages and 1 adopted school. So I'm the coordinator of this Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. So we went there and distributed this to this school. So just to make them aware about the local species. Then this is the, if you go to Cotton University, so then we started this wall murals. These are all local species found in the Cotton campus. And then there are talks and workshop interactive sessions. You can see Professor Amitav Joshi there. He came and took a workshop, and these are the few posters that we put it. And I just wanted to highlight the research gap. If you see the Northeast and the India, there are very few urban studies, urban ecology studies. So I think we need to have a lot of scope for doing this, and evolution is one important factors that we need to also. So my goal is to whether we can develop a Guwahati as a sustainable city by understanding its biodiversity component. So I would like to acknowledge my students, Professor Aninda Sinha, Professor Dhruva-Jyoti Soikia, who is the founder, Vice Chancellor of the university, all the collaborators, and the Cotton University Authority. I wish I could put some funding agencies, but we didn't get any funds for all these works. So I would like to end with this quote by Rabindranath Tagore, which emphasizes the need for, say, understanding our neighborhood rather than going too far. So I have traveled all around the world to see the rivers and mountains, and I have spent a lot of money. I've gone to great lengths. I've seen everything, but I forgot to see just outside my home a dewdrop on a little blade of grass, a dewdrop which reflects in its complexity the whole universe around you. So with this, I would like to thank the organizer and all of you for your patience hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Narayan. We have time for questions.
Very interesting to see that you have found so many species of birds.
Yeah.
You mentioned about 212.
212.
And in addition to that, you have, this invasion and alien species coming from outside.
Yeah.
My simple query is, have you ever come across hybridization in birds?
Not really, sir. I haven't seen them. But I have seen, I don't know whether those are the results of hybridization or not, but some of the crows which are black and white, but I don't know them. I don't think that's the result of hybridization. And the important thing is that there is a Ramsar site wetland also. So that contributed a lot of richness. Lot of migratory birds used to come there.
Just a suggestion, Narayana, you have been following all our work.
Yeah.
See to it that these things simply do not, suppose tomorrow you have some other interest, develop a system where people keep these records for a long time.
Yes.
Imagine all my work, it has taken 35 years
Yes.
for me to show the real trends in wildlife monitoring.
Correct.
2 years, 5 years, or the perceptions of people
Yeah.
are 90% wrong.
Correct.
Perceptions of forest department, 70% wrong.
Yeah.
See, unless we have our own database built over decades and decades.
Yes.
Only there you see my
Yes.
question, over 3.5 decades for certain population, repeatedly monitored.
Yes.
Every year you go, every 6 months you go, monitor.
Yes.
And only then for wild animals, you really
Exactly.
get the true trends.
Absolutely.
So this work should not stop.
Yeah. So I will.
Develop a mechanism
Yeah.
which would continue you or without you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Any questions on the back?
Yes. Hi, sir. Thank you for the lovely talk.
Oh.
About the trees near the roads and highways, it felt a little counterintuitive to see bigger trees and better healthy trees along the bigger roads. So, what do you think is the reason for that?
These trees actually are recently planted. Not the highway was there, I think 7 or 8 years. But in other areas, what happened? There is a power line that's going on, right? So then the power line is going. There are power line, and they chop the trees. Most of these trees in the big roads, by-lanes, are being chopped.
Okay.
But not in the highway. Because highway there are power lines are much above or little bit away from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? Couple of last ones? Yes.
Thank you for the nice talk. I was curious about you showed that rhesus macaques are showing some success with the time with the urbanization, and what is the story about the house crows or the spotted doves, and if is there any shift in the species composition for the doves or the bulbuls, because we have seen that definitely there is a shift in the population of mynas or doves with the urbanization.
Yes.
So if you have seen something.
I haven't seen, but in Cotton campus where we have been doing this intensive observation, so there was the large bill crow was there. One large bill crow, only single individual, 16 and 17 and 18, then it vanished. Then I think we also need to do a bit of work, sir, on the Eurasian tree sparrows and the house sparrows. So though it's a Eurasian tree sparrows and house sparrows are now very commonly seen in Guwahati, particularly the Eurasian tree sparrows. So whether they are pushing the house sparrows, so I think we need to do some work there. But no, sir, they are. So that's what they are called the tree sparrows. But we have seen them foraging on the same sites, multiple times in multiple grids. So we do not know, sir. So.
All right. Let's thank Narayan once again.